Welcome back to the Rodecast, guys. Hope you're doing well out there. I'm your host, Rod, as always. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the latest rule change when it comes to green cards from USCIS. And this is a policy that existed under the first Trump administration, but it was overhauled or dumped by the Biden administration, obviously, because they're trying to be as open borders as possible. So they got rid of it. But it has been reinstated, and it is a rule that allows for USCIS officers to use the fact that someone has been on government assistance as a negative factor to strike down a green card that a foreigner has applied for. That's basically what the reinstatement of this rule does when it comes to USCIS and the granting of green cards to people who are applying for them. Okay, so I think this is great. Obviously, the ideal would be to get rid of green cards altogether, but we can't do that because Congress passed the law that allows for green cards back in 1952. It was called the Immigration Nationality Act of 1952, and along with 1965 Hart-Celler Act, both those laws are what has basically turned America into a third world country. So those are two laws that we need to repeal. Obviously, only Congress can do that. So no president can really reverse or get rid of green cards altogether. All they can do is try to limit them as much as possible to stem the foreign invasion. Okay, so rules like this are always welcome. So let's take a look at some clips here and we'll talk some more about it.
A new Trump administration immigration rule could make it harder for some legal immigrants to get a green card. The policy brings back a broader public charge review, allowing immigration officers to consider whether applicants use or are likely to use certain government assistance programs when deciding if they can become permanent residents. The rule reverses a Biden-era policy and is set to take effect September 18th. The Department of Homeland Security says the change reinforces the idea that immigrants should be financially self-sufficient and helps protect taxpayer-funded resources. But immigrant advocacy groups warn this policy could have a much broader impact. They say many families may avoid applying for benefits they're legally eligible for, including Medicaid, food assistance, and housing programs, because they're worried it could hurt their immigration status. Federal officials estimate nearly 950,000 people could choose to leave or not enroll in some public assistance programs once the new rule takes effect in September.
That's the whole point. We want it as a deterrent. Okay. The question should be, why are they eligible in the first place? Why are people who are not even citizens eligible for my tax dollars? Because that's what government programs are. And I have no problem with actual Americans using them, real Americans, legacy Americans who are supposed to be here. I have no problem with that. Okay, I'm not like some greedy Republicans who want to deny, poor Americans assistance. I'm open to that. Okay, I'm open to helping out real Americans. I'm not open to serving as a freaking UNICEF for the world, which is what the left wants America to be. Literally, everybody who needs help or thinks that they need help or says that they need help, everybody gets to come here. Okay, that's those are the kinds of people they're talking about. So what they're talking about here, when it comes to prospective citizens, is they're talking about people who came here on some kind of visa, like an F1 visa, or there are many other visas that exist for different things, investor visas and tourist visas, whatever. Not all of them, but a lot of them can be converted into a permanent residency card, aka a green card. Okay, so they come here temporarily on a visa, then they try to become a citizen, and a lot of cases unfortunately succeed, stay here long enough, usually, stealing one of our jobs, of course, and then adjust their status. Legally speaking, it's called adjustment of status, aka adjustment of thievery is more like it. Okay, foreigners literally becoming equal to us under the law. That's what's happening with adjustment of status. That's why I'm against any immigration whatsoever. Of course, I've explained my position before, so I don't want these green cards to even exist at all, but the more we can limit them, the better. Okay, so the people that they're talking about are like F1 students from China who are trying to marry an American to get American citizenship. That's the group that we're talking about here. Okay, and I watch immigration shows and these people calling into immigration shows and immigration lawyers all the time. I know their stories. Okay, they're not real marriages, they're faking it most of the time. They get divorced like 2 years after. Okay, because they just want a green card, and after they get it, they're done. They dump the stupid American, and they move on, to usually marry another Chinese person, which they can do back in their own countries. Okay, my only objection is the fact that they're getting a green card in the first place. Okay, anyways, I don't want any of them issued, but the more we can limit them, the better. Okay, so the people that they're talking about, legal immigrants, I don't care if they're legal or not. Okay, What matters to me is their blood. Where do they come from? They don't come from America. Okay, they have no right to be in this country. Okay, they have their own countries. And China, yeah, it's a growing country right now. Why are we letting Chinese people come here and become citizens and become equal to us? Okay, no Chinese person can be equal to George Washington, because that's what you're doing essentially when you give them citizenship. So I'm so against everything that's happening with the legal immigration system as well as the illegal one. Okay, obviously there shouldn't be any illegals, but the legal one is too lax too. That's why America's turning into a third world country. Okay, or has some parts of it have successfully turned into a third world country. But anyways, that's the kind of people they're talking about when they talk about this stuff. People who want to adjust their status and steal resources from Americans. But here we're talking about, we'll get that in the second video, actually.
The Trump administration rules allows officials to consider someone's use of public benefits when making decisions about their citizenship. That can include certain government-funded health and social services programs. And advocates worry that immigrants who are legally eligible for those benefits may now avoid using them.
Good, because they shouldn't be eligible to use them in the first place. They're not even green card holders, but somehow they're allowed to use government programs. How does that happen? Okay, because the law is too lax. We're literally trying to give away our resources to foreigners. That's our tax dollars. Make no mistake about it. It's not magic money falling from the, Narnia. It's from our tax dollars. That's what's going to these people. Okay, whatever kind of crap that they need before they even become citizens. Okay, before they become fake Americans, we still have to help them. Apparently, according to the people who are pushing back against this, this is the most reasonable rule in the history of the world. By the way, if they sue over this, which they will sue, and they'll probably even lose at the district court, but they'll definitely lose at the appeals court and at the Supreme Court. This is a completely reasonable rule. Okay, the fact that we don't want to admit a bunch of moochers, okay, that's the way that they should frame it in their legal argument, and that's exactly correct. And that is a perfectly reasonable way for America, the American government, to safeguard its people and its treasure. Okay, so this is a completely legal rule. This is not even crossing the boundaries. This is not, risky. Oh, will it survive the, SCOTUS inspection? It will. Okay, this meets the standing precedents right now. So this is not an unreasonable rule to protect our money and the money of the taxpayers, which is the government's job, one of their jobs.
Immigrants living in New York City using Medicaid, housing vouchers, and SNAP might soon have to choose between receiving their green cards and public benefits.
We need to be very clear. The new rule will lead to devastating effects on the health and economic stability of our community and our neighbors.
Your community is filled with a bunch of disgusting illegals and other foreigners that I don't want here, so I hope so. I hope it decimates your community. Okay, and of course it's freaking Ali, okay, Middle Eastern freaking over here who has a problem with it. Okay, Mustafa.
Of our community and our neighbors.
A coalition of New York City nonprofits helping immigrant families gathered today in Midtown to condemn the Trump administration.
I'm so glad to see that there wasn't a single white person here to actually, aid in this shame, okay, in the mooching and to support the moochers. I'm glad that there weren't any white women here. Usually they'll get a couple of liberal white women to come and, be the face of these kind of movements. So I'm happy to see that, at least in this press conference, we don't see one. So thank Odin for that.
It brings another layer of pain and confusion.
Under the revived policy, applicants for green cards would have to show that they would not be burdens to the country, causing public charges. The rule was first implemented in February of 2020 as one of President Donald Trump's first moves to limit legal immigration during his first administration. It was reversed after Democratic President Joe Biden took office. The reversal will target legal immigrants and mixed-status families where the parents are foreign nationals with U.S.-born children.
This, by the way, so the way that this will work at a office level is that USCIS officers who are looking at adjustment of status applications and doing interviews with these foreigners, they will be able to look at their record of benefit usage and use it against them to deny green cards. Like in the real world, that's how it will work. Okay, as long as this rule stays alive, and if a Democrat gets back in office, of course, it'll be gone. Okay, so that's something Trump should be thinking about, and everybody should be thinking about, and making sure that that doesn't happen in the future. And do things like stop doing unpopular things like the Iran war, so that you don't lose the next election. Because all of the good things that you've done on immigration will be reversed if you F it up on other areas, issue areas like foreign policy, and a Democrat gets back into office. It's all over. Okay, all of this stuff that we talk about is all gone. All right. So everybody in the administration should be thinking about that if they actually care about America, and all the people who are supporting the Iran war, which is very unpopular among everybody, include both parties, and me. Okay. They should be thinking about that, because you're going to lose the next elections that are coming up. Everything is not done today just because you pass a rule or the Supreme Court agrees with you or whatever. It's not finished. Okay. In the future, things can be reversed. So everybody should keep that in mind when they take action on other areas that Americans care about, like increasing gas prices, for example, which is always going to backfire on whoever does that. Okay. That's historically true. And Trump is going to experience that, and the Republicans are going to experience that if they keep doing this Middle East stuff. Okay, sucking up to Netanyahu and doing what Israel wants is going to destroy Trump and his legacy.
Lifelines, we will see a rise in emergency care, reports of underfed and hungry school children, more families entering the shelter system, and so many more preventable harms.
The Department of Homeland Security.
Here's an idea. Don't let them in the first place, and you won't have any of those problems, bro. Okay. So the solution is to limit visas completely to like one issued a year. Okay. Technically, you're meeting your legal obligation because we can't eliminate visas without Congress. But the State Department and USCIS can just stop issuing visas. Just really, really crack down on them and only issue a few a year. Okay. You're still technically issuing them, so you're not breaking the law technically, but you're restricting them. There'll be lawsuits, no doubt. But nevertheless, that's something that is possible. Okay. But the solution is to not let them in the first place, because if they come here, it's all over. They're going to want to stay forever. They're going to try to use every single public assistance program that exists. Okay. So the solution is don't let them in the first place. Zero immigration. That's the solution.
Tweeting, quote, under President Trump, DHS is restoring the basic principle that immigrants must be able to support themselves.
The immigrant communities of New York are an economic...
If they can support themselves, they wouldn't be coming here in the first place. They're leechers. Okay, so this point of view of the old Republican Party, the Reagan Republican Party, I don't care if they can, afford, if they have money or not. That doesn't change anything about them. They're still foreigners. They're still not Americans. This argument is weak and pathetic too. Okay, it's a half-ass argument that allows way too many foreigners in any ways. You make excuses like this, then a bunch of like rich Saudis can still come here under this rule, or rich Chinese people or whatever. Okay, I don't want the oligarchs here, and I don't want the peasants here either. I don't want any of them here.
Support themselves.
The immigrant communities of New York are an economic powerhouse for this city and our country.
According to the U.S.
Did you guys get that? This one's been, loading up on tacos all day. And she just said that the freaking people who are on government assistance are a powerhouse. They're an economic powerhouse, but they're on government assistance? What? Do you guys listen to the arguments that you make before they come out of your mouth? Because other people can hear them. I don't know if you know that. You're speaking to a microphone and it's being recorded. It has no logical consistency whatsoever. Okay. That's like saying I'm the richest guy in the world, but please, I need to get on food stamps tomorrow. Okay, that's what you just said. That is ridiculous.
The immigrant communities of New York are an economic powerhouse for this city and our country.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, there were nearly 23 million non-citizens living in the country in 2023. Critics say the policy broadens the grounds for disqualification and that the new rule does not describe or specify by name the benefits and programs that could be considered a public charge. Instead, it says federally assigned officers would use their own judgment to determine if the immigrant is wrongfully using public resources and should be denied their green card.
That's by design, so that the USCIS officers have broad discretion to deny green cards. Okay, that's called smart thinking.
This determination will introduce personal biases.
The public policy charge is expected to take effect in just under 2 months on September 8th.
I hope so. I hope they have a lot of biases just like me. And we should have biases against people who are not even supposed to be in our land. It's a natural instincts that nature has instilled within us to protect our tribe against the invading tribes. Okay, this is anthropology. You guys should, I wish that they would teach it in high school so people can learn. I had to go to college to learn physical anthropology, which is probably the best class I ever took. You learn about basic genetics and evolution. and human behavior, human genetics, and how human beings evolved on this planet, and our tribal nature, with the environment in which our brains evolved, why we have the instincts we have to protect our own family and to protect the people around us. Okay, these are basic things that Americans need to know. They don't know. Okay, that's the biggest problem here. And yeah, what they call xenophobia is us wanting to protect our own country that our ancestors fought and built. Okay, that's what xenophobia is, for anybody that's wondering. Okay, when the left says xenophobia, that's them telling you that you care about your own people, because they think that we have a responsibility to save the world. Okay, even though they don't want America to be the policeman of the world when it comes to wars, but when it comes to immigration, they want the whole world to be able to come here with no questions asked. And America's supposed to accommodate that. Americans are supposed to sacrifice of ourselves for foreigners. This is the logic. Okay. No other country is expected to do this. Only America. Okay. China is not being forced to take in any other group by the world. Okay. The UN is not pressuring China to take in anyone like randomly and make them citizens of China, because they're not Chinese. That's why. And that's the correct stance by China, by the way. They haven't bent to any request to do that because they care about their own people. I know it's a radical idea. America should try it sometime. Okay. And also Northern Europe, who also have a lot of people who believe this way, that somehow Northern Europeans owe the world and we have to take in all the savages of the world and provide all of our resources to them. This is the thinking. Okay. Of course, this is nonsense. And there are going to be people who fight against that. That'll be me, because it's insane and unfair to the people of America and Sweden and Norway and Denmark and all the other countries that have been invaded by foreigners that they don't want there. Okay, if you fought in the Viking Wars and you actually built Northern Europe, then you have a right to be there. Otherwise, you don't have a right to be there. No rights. Okay. And same goes for America. When your ancestors have fought a revolution and built a country, then I'll be happy to listen to how you have a right to be there. Okay. Until then, you don't. These rights are made up magically by bureaucrats who have no respect for the native population. And that's all I got to say for this video. This is a great rule. Obviously, my only question is, why wasn't this done like a year ago? Okay, I'm happy about it. Okay, I'm grateful for what I received. But why wasn't this done like in the first week that that Trump came into office? It's late. It's not too late, but it's late. It's very late. It's nearly the end of the second year. So, I should have gotten on that earlier. But nevertheless, I'm happy that it happened now. That's all I got to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, and I'll see you guys in my next one.